are back for another episode of the TWC Show. I hear an echo, and I don't know where that's coming from. But guys, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please hit the subscribe or follow button now. If you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a rating and a review. We are back. We're back to consistency. We're 2 weeks in a row. I know we had that 1 week off when I was in California. We had that 2-hour episode last week, but we are here. And there's a lot to talk about, and hopefully it won't take us that long because we only have to catch up on 1 week of wrestling. Before we get there as well, I want to let you guys know that the show will be returning to Dash Radio on Ruckus Avenue coming soon. So it will be dropping on these platforms first, especially if there's pay-per-views and stuff. But eventually, if you guys are Dash Radio listeners from the past or you still have the app on your phone, you still use it, we will be returning to Ruckus Avenue along with a bunch of other shows on there. But they wanted the TWC Show on Ruckus Avenue, so that will be happening soon too. Now, that all being said, thank you guys for joining us. Welcome back to the show. And we got a couple of great co-hosts with me today. If you're a part of the Patreon, you can see the video. We got none other than Nickie Bushi from Women's Wrestling Talk here with her NXT Women's Championship. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you? I'm good.
Doing great. I'm the World Heavyweight Champion right now.
That's good. I'm the current WWE NXT Women's Champion with my Women's Wrestling.
I'm Women's Make History shirt today. They make history.
Hey.
From Dallas. The last time WrestleMania was in Dallas.
Hey, I'm trying to get like you.
Like me. And before we move forward, we also got the only Jamari Roberts, who has joined us a handful of times on this show, and he's here with his North American Championship, the NXT North American Champion.
The NXT North American Champion, that be me, and I need you to put some respect on my title.
Okay.
On NXT. Thank you. That's all I want for us NXT people. Now, I don't have a shirt to go ahead and promote for women's wrestling, but I have my free shirt brought to you by Kayla, which I will have once again. I will be promoting it for her because I love Kayla. Because I want all the smoke, if you guys can see that.
Well, thank you for promoting your shirt. Everyone's here promoting the shirts and the belts today on the TWC Show. But we got a lot to talk about. And we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start with WWE this week because we started with AEW last week because there was a lot to talk about with the Rampages and the Grand Slams and all that. But the tournaments have begun. They've been a hot topic, especially in our rooms on Clubhouse and whatnot. The Queen's Crown tournament, the King of the Ring tournament, they've all begun this week on SmackDown. How do you guys feel about them so far? Do you want to start with the men's or the women's? What are you guys feeling? I feel like we should start with the men's because
let's go with the men's. I was going to say let's go with the men's first.
So I'm going to put up the bracket really quickly of the men's tournament so you guys know who's all on there. The first rounds were Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn and Cesaro versus Finn Balor. On the other side, we have Kofi Kingston versus Jinder Mahal and Xavier Woods versus Ricochet. What we know already is that Rey Mysterio had lost to Sami Zayn and Finn Balor defeated Cesaro, meaning next week on SmackDown, we will be getting Finn Balor and Sami Zayn in the semifinals match before they go to Saudi Arabia for the finals. We don't know the results of Kofi Kingston and Jinder yet and Xavier and Ricochet because those will be taking place on Raw. We'll start off with you, Jamari, for this one. How do you feel about the King of the Ring tournament thus far?
I love the King of the Ring, but this is the only thing I'm going to hate that, and this is going to sound weird, but it's like we have both the Queen's Crown, which we're going to get into. Now we have the King of the Ring, but they're both in Saudi Arabia. I wish it would have ended at a Big Four, like Survivor Series or something like that, because you got to survive this tournament if that makes sense. So I wish it could be at a Big Four. Once again, I think we are rooting for the same person. Once again, that is Xavier Woods. Everybody loves Xavier Woods, and this is his tournament. If he don't win, I will riot.
Nickie, are you rooting for Xavier Woods when it comes to the men's tournament?
I am, but I'm also rooting for Sami Zayn because I love Sami. And I'm glad to see him win. I do think the match that we see next week between him and Balor is going to be very interesting. The one thing that I will say that's different from the women's is predictability, if that makes sense. I think that the women's, it doesn't looks more predictable. Whereas the men's, we're getting more elements, we're getting different feuds, we're seeing different matchups that we haven't seen in a long time. To the other side of the bracket, I do want to see Xavier Woods and Kofi go at it. because that's something we just don't get to see. So yeah, I am rooting for Xavier Woods. I do want Sammy to make it at least to the finals, though.
So, from what I see, like, obviously, I think all of us want Xavier Woods to win the King of the Ring because for years now, if you watch Up, Up, Down, Down, if you just follow the New Day podcast or anything, Xavier Woods, all he ever wanted to do was win the King of the Ring tournament. He's like, I want to win the King of the Ring. I almost feel like because we want that so bad, it's not going to happen. I'm rooting for Xavier Woods. But you have Sami Zayn in there who would make moving forward from the King of the Ring a funny ass king and would run with that gimmick and have something to do with it. You have Finn Balor, who I feel like they're trying to push real hard right now. I don't want to see him with a king gimmick, but I think he's going to make it to the finals. And this goes back to this unpredictability thing, right? You could go to the semifinals and have Kofi versus Xavier, and it could be like this emotional match. But then again, you're going to Saudi Arabia. You might want someone like Jinder reaching the finals. There's a lot here that you can throw up in the air and talk about and kind of consider when it comes to the men's side of the King of the Ring. Like I want Xavier to win. I think Sammy winning would be entertaining as hell because a heel King of the Ring is always funny. I didn't like Baron Corbin, but I like Wade Bear was kind of funny. Sheamus was kind of funny as a king. Like Kurt Angle, like heel kings have been a little bit more entertaining on a long-term basis than babyface kings in the past. And I just see Sammy being great. Unless like Xavier turns heel, like he gets so arrogant that he's now the king. He starts having issues with Kofi, and it leads to something like that. Like that's always something too. Like, he's the courageous king, Xavier Woods or something. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like this bracket is definitely a lot more like even between Finn and Cesaro, I'm like that one could have went either way. I didn't really think Rey Mysterio was gonna win, but it's just this bracket's a lot more up in the air. And then I know a lot of people in my comment section said King Ricochet. Please give us King Ricochet. This could be Ricochet's breakout situation, but him being in the first round against Xavier I think that also makes a majority of the crowd be like, well, why would you do that to Ricochet? Kenneth, do you have any thoughts on the King of the Ring? Kenneth has joined us now too, everybody.
King of the Ring. I'm happy that they finally announced who's all in it. So we kind of got a chance to see what the matchup's like, and half of the bracket's already been filled now down to the semifinals. You did bring good points of this being built for Jinder Mahal since they're going to Saudi Arabia. That is a high possible because think about it, they did let him beat AJ Styles to become a champion. Then thus starting all this what we have now.
He beat Randy Orton. AJ Styles beat him, but I get your point. And don't get me wrong, guys. Jinder Mahal is not Saudi Arabian. I'm not saying like that, but he is from that Middle Eastern Asia world. If he's in, and there's a pull towards something, putting someone over that's more familiar to them than someone that isn't could be something they might want to do.
We say the same thing about with Mansoor. They pull him out every time they get ready to go around Saudi Arabia. So, that's why making me think this could be something for Jinder. But what I would like, what we all would like, and I agree, King Xavier, he's been pushing for it. He's been thriving for it. I just think that should be his accomplishment, even if, we don't see him probably being the WWE champion or they don't see him being the WWE champion at any point in time. King of the Ring is pretty much his WWE champion, and I think everybody would be happy for that. Finn is not a bad choice neither. I wouldn't despise against Finn neither. I think Finn is a good choice as well. I think if they use this with this Demon King gimmick, I think that's going to be a nice, interesting tie-in.
All right, let's go quick round. We'll start with you, Kenneth. What is the finals for you?
Finals, we're gonna go with. I'm gonna put faith in Xavier. I want to go with Xavier against Sami Zayn. It gotta be Xavier again. I can't put two faces, so it gotta be Xavier against Sami Zayn, and that's what I'm gonna roll with.
Jamari.
This once again goes into predictability. We know Sami Zayn isn't making that trip to Saudi Arabia. So we already know it's going to be on that right side. Hopefully it could be Xavier Woods, but we already know the left side is going to be Finn Balor.
Nickie?
Well, I'm still picking Sammy. So I would like to see Sammy and Jinder in the finals.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna just go on a limb and I'm gonna say oddly enough, okay, so if just to take Xavier out of the equation, but once again, I want Xavier to win too, but just to mix it up, I could see it being Phineas and Jinder in the finals and Finn becoming the king of the ring, or Jinder somehow beating Finn, because if I'm correct, oh no, they're on separate shows now. Jinder's on SmackDown, Finn's on Raw. But yeah, that could be the finals. Before
that was my secondary thought.
Pardon?
I say that was my secondary thought.
Yeah, I think they're trying to push Finn, and you can't have Finn just lose a feud to Roman and then go back to like losing matches. And you know what I mean? Like if he loses at the finals of the King of the Ring, it's a different story. But if he doesn't make it to the finals, like this guy was just fighting Roman, and now he can't even get to the finals of the King of the Ring. He's the only one on that bracket that was like just in a main event feud. And that kind of like, you got to take that into consideration. Before we move forward with the Queen's Court, which I really want to call the Queen of the Ring because I don't know, it just is what it is. I mean, the Queen's Crown. I called it the Queen's Court. That's what Nickie called our clubhouse the other day.
Hey,
oh my!
You shouldn't have did that. Take your own credit for your own bull.
No. But before we get there, I just want to send out my heartfelt condolences and love to the Reggie Parks family. We lost Reggie Parks this week. He is the creator. Honestly, and I put in my caption, I think it's the best way to phrase it. Think about your favorite world title from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Even if you're a UFC fan, think about the UFC heavyweight title. They were all made by Reggie Parks. He was a professional wrestler that once he retired, started creating belts for the WWF, the NWA, WCW, the AWA, USWA, all the WCW belts. I mean, from the world titles to the tag titles to the television titles. Like this Winged Eagle belt that I have right here next to me. This is also a Reggie Parks classic. The Attitude Era belt, Reggie Parks. All the belts from prior to this one in 1988, all Reggie Parks. The classic Intercontinental title, even the one that was just in that white strap that we had prior to the last one, was a Reggie Parks design. He was the creator of the X Division title, the original one. Just an unsung hero in professional wrestling. Someone that, if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you knew who Reggie Parks was, but if you were like a semi-hardcore wrestling fan or a casual fan, you might not have known that. Like that was a guy that created all the championship titles that we grew up loving. And he passed away, unfortunately, this past week. And I just wanted to send out some love to Reggie Parks' family and all of his friends and say, we know he's the GOAT, and honestly, the new titles don't hit the same, in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, you guys both have some really nice titles over there, but I miss the OG titles. I'm that old guy. I'm that boomer here. So rest in peace, Reggie Parks. That being said now, something new, something that's never been done before. This is the first time ever. It's a Queen of the Ring tournament that they have named the Queen's Crown because it happened at Crown Jewel. Were you guys excited when you saw the bracket? Were you guys disappointed when you saw the bracket? Because there's been mixed feelings about, wow, this tournament's so small and it's happening so fast. We'll start with you, Nickie, because we had someone in the Discord earlier today even being like, wow, they're not even giving all the women's opportunities. There's only these many people featured on it. How do you feel about this bracket for the Queen's Crown?
Well, you brought it up. So before I start, I just want to say there's one valuable queen that's missing from the bracket, and that's Charlotte. So that's the first thing that I know that. I'm very aware. I'm just saying, you asked, what do I see? And that's what I see. I don't see Charlotte Flair. So that means there's opportunity for other people, as other people would like to say that they take a back seat to Flair. I disagree, but that's a pretty popular opinion. I personally think the matchups are better than what people would like to acclaim. I think the men get a pass because you see different people, you see favorites. Of course, men's wrestling being so dominant, it's different. With the women, people are like, oh, Doudrop and Natalya. That's a legitimate match. Dana and Shayna can be legitimate. The only difference is that the bracket is predictable. It does, like, it's very one-sided. And yeah, I mean, congrats to Carmella because that was a surprise victory. Congrats to Selena because I didn't think she would win that one either. I definitely thought it would be Tony and Liv. So maybe it's not as predictable as I'm thinking, but you know, to each its own. I like it. I don't have an issue with it. I'm ready to see the matches on Monday.
Jamari, did the bracket shock you at all? Did you feel like there's some names missing? Do you feel like there was a lot
Shayna
of names
Baszler.
utilized?
Shayna Baszler.
That's your
Dana
answer?
Baszler.
Okay.
Shayna Baszler.
But what about my girl, Carmella? What about Carmella? She beat Liv Morgan, and nobody thought Carmella was going to beat Liv Morgan. Carmella
Baszler.
was beautiful action figure from Rain City Toys. Guys, check out Rain City Toys and get some action figures. But what about
The
Carmella?
Queen of Spades.
You're telling me
Shayna Baszler.
You're telling me that Carmella's going to make it to the finals only to get whooped by Shayna Baszler?
Baszler. Just for your excitement, just to give you a little bit of excitement, a little bit of edge to yourself, to get you on the edge of that seat for yourself. I hope she gets to the finals, right? And I hope she gets squashed and her arm put inside that little stair step, and then she comes and just do the stomp on her arm just for you. Carmella,
I love how I made that post, and I was
Carmella.
like,
I know you are a great competitor, but when it comes to this tournament, it is handmade for Shayna Baszler. And if you think anything else, you are kidding yourself. So once again, I end this statement with Shayna Baszler.
I walked into a Royal Rumble that I thought Shayna Baszler was gonna win, and then Charlotte Flair won it. I walked into a WrestleMania match against Becky Lynch that I thought Shayna Baszler was going to win, and then Becky Lynch won it. I walked into a Money in the Bank ladder match that I thought that Shayna Baszler was going to win, and then Asuka won it. If I learned anything about Shayna Baszler on the main roster, they're very hot with the start, and they never complete the finish. And that could happen again here. I'm not saying it is. I'm on the Shayna Baszler train. I feel like if someone is going to win this tournament, like it seems like it should be Shayna Baszler. Am I shocked that Toni Storm did not go over Zelina Vega? Yes, because I feel like Toni Storm is new. This is a great way to showcase her to the main roster crowd. But also on the flip side, ever since Zelina Vega has been back, her booking has been pretty poor. And I don't know if that's because Malachi showed up in AEW under a 30-day when they thought he was on a 90-day, and that pissed the office off. So, like, we're going to punish your wife. Like, they put Lana through tables for 8 weeks before they just released her anyways. I don't know if it's because of that, but they haven't been booking Zelina the way that to her fullest potential, because I personally have seen Zelina talk. We've all seen Zelina talk. She can talk. And I've seen her wrestle in the past in like Impact and other places where she was a pretty solid wrestler that we've never got to see here yet. So was I shocked that Toni didn't go over Zelina? Yes, but I'm happy for Zelina. I mentally prepared myself for Carmella to lose this because I felt like, okay, Carmella's the 2-time Money in the Bank winner. She's been the SmackDown Women's Champion. She won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania. She's cashed in on Charlotte Flair. She's accomplished so many things. She defended the championship at SummerSlam. She's had so many moments that Liv Morgan hasn't even like touched. Like what are Liv Morgan's greatest moments, guys? Anybody?
I mean, but to that point, I will say thanks for including the Queen as an accolade of cashing in, because we all know she gets cash time. But to your point, I think Carmella is more legitimized. No matter her ring ability, no matter what you say about her, she's more legit than Liz as far as a character. She's done more. She's had more. So I do think
she's versatile. When they want her to be funny and run around with the R-Truth, she can do that. You want to be a serious competitor to face Sasha Banks in the 2 months before she goes to Bianca, Carmella can fill that space. She's constantly booked. She always says, I'm always booked. I'm always ready. They always have a spot for me on the show because they do. Because she can do whatever they want her to do. Can she talk? She can talk. Can she wrestle? I'm not going to sit here and be like she's one of the best wrestlers in that women's roster. But her matches against Charlotte, her matches against Sasha, her matches against Asuka, her matches against Bayley, she always pulls through and has good matches with them. She's reliable and she's consistent, and that's why they like her. But my point was, Carmella has all this. Liv didn't. I actually thought they were going to give Liv the opportunity. I genuinely thought, oh, Queen's Court, this is where they make Liv get the opportunity, make her get to the finals, and then Shayna breaks her arm. Or somehow Liv beats Shayna, and Liv gets to be the queen. But then Carmella came out, and I saw this. And when I saw this, beautiful image here, I was like, and for those of you watching on the Patreon, or maybe I'll post this clip on my page so you can see what I'm talking about. When I saw this, I'm like, give me what I want. Because if anybody can be a heel queen and be arrogant as fuck and just cocky and already calls herself the most beautiful woman in the WWE, it's Carmella. So I kind of fuck with it. But then again, to Jamari's point, Shayna Baszler is dangerous. Kenneth, how do you feel about this whole Queen's Court thing? Or Queen's Crown? Holy shit.
In case you didn't kind of get it the first time, Shayna Baszler. Nobody wants to see that.
No,
Like, you want me? You
if
want
they
my
put a
personal
goofy ass
opinion?
crown on Shayna Baszler,
They
play the
won't.
person that wears
like
a
this.
mask.
I'm just gonna say it like this: they booked this whole tournament wrong. One, all they had to do, they could have built Tony, and you could have built Liv. Why? We don't care about Zelina. And yes, everything you said about Carmella is correct, but this is not her time to shine. This is not her time. Why? What for? She gonna
no, and I was with you on that. I was with you on that. I didn't think Carmella really necessarily needed this. I didn't. But I mean,
she's a good place filler, but not for this. You could have put Liv over. You could have put Tony over. This would have been two fresh people who actually where to go. Somebody deserved to go there. It would have been a great star-making moment. And you could have just let them get crushed underneath that fallen star, Shayna Baszler, and just crown her the official Queen of Spades and just be done with it.
Can I just say this, though? I'm going to tell you why the people went into the bracket that went into the bracket. So Zelina's character can hold a crown. Carmella's character can hold a crown. Toni Storm is the quote-unquote queen of rock and roll and doing that, while Liv is doing whatever she's doing. And neither one of them, I don't feel like, would move on successfully either way in the tournament. I think it's absolutely genius to have Dana Brooke and Shayna, because we all know the consensus is, oh, Shayna's going to go in here and just dominate. But is she? You can say what you want about Dana, but she has it. She has it. She may not have a title. She may not get the opportunities, but she can put on a match. And I think that there's going to be a lot of doubting in the Dana and Shayna match. And I think it's going to, who knows? We don't even know if Shayna is going to even move on. We don't. I mean, she could. I mean, her probability is higher than anybody else, but who knows?
And I'm going to say this. They know how to book Shayna to lose clean, because they've been doing it for weeks on top of weeks on top of weeks on top of weeks.
Shayna's kryptonite is a roll-up. If Shayna gets rolled up, it's over.
Exactly. If it's a roll-up, it's done.
And but to you guys' point, like, look, we're sitting here, we're talking about Zelina and Tony, we're talking about Carmella and Liv, obviously some biases over here. We're talking about Shayna and her opponent Dan, but we don't even talk about Doudrop and Natalya because we don't even think that's even like nobody's. And to Nickie, before we get to the point of the reason I'm saying we didn't even bring him up, is like maybe Shayna will run through Dana. I believe that, but I think either Doudrop or Natalya would be a little bit of a lengthier match for Shayna to get through. Either one of them. This could be AK Piper's breakout moment here against Shayna. She could put on they're on a fucking 3-hour show called Monday Night Raw. If they gave Doudrop and Shayna like a 2-segment match where Doudrop actually made Shayna work for the win, where at the end you're like, oh shit, like we just seen Doudrop in this whole Eva thing. We haven't seen this out of Doudrop yet. It could be something. And then also I know how much respect the Shaynas and the Rondas have for Natalya. And they would probably want to put on like a solid match with her if they were given the time.
And Natalya deserves to go into the next round with someone like Shayna. I feel. I think Doudrop should too. I just think that the other two matches are very critical to what happens next. I will go back to say this. If you think that this tournament is not built for Carmella, look at the bracket. Just look at the bracket.
That
Because
being said, we're gonna go this way, starting with you, Nickie. What's the finals?
the finals.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to see or what I think is gonna happen.
Either or. What do you think is gonna be the finals?
I think it's Mella and Natalia.
Mella and Shayna?
No, Mella and Natalia, because Natalia's already wrestled in Crown. She's already wrestled in Crown Jewel. So,
and that really secures my girl's.
And if Carmella goes over Natalia, she's a queen too. We don't really. I mean, she's kind of Natalia's a queen, in a sense.
The Princess of Staten Island becomes
Mella and Natty, definitely.
Jamari, what is the finals?
I'm looking at the crowd behind me because I'm wondering if they hear this. If they hear the thing that you guys are spewing inside of my ear, the one that my mom birthed me with on my left side, because it's reverse side for the camera folks that are watching on Patreon. Please go join Justin's Patreon. Thank you. That left side right here in this ear, they believe that Carmella is really going to win. And I don't know how I feel about that. But once again, this tournament is made for Carmella and Shayna Baszler.
All right, fair enough. Kenneth, finals?
I ain't gonna lie. In my head, I'm actually caught between what they both say, because Nickie did prove a good point. Natty has already wrestled a crown jewel. They already secured her in front of the crowd. They done saw her before. That is like, for that type of event, she is kind of a safe bet. But I mean, two heels. Even though I'm at to go against Shayna, I'm at to say Natty and Carmella, because I can see it's a face and a heel aspect.
So here. Oh wow, that's weird. Wow.
Yeah, I see it from a booking and a business standpoint more than I really want Shayna, because that's what I want.
How about this? So remember when Shayna stumped on Eva Marie's arm? Are they both heels?
No. That's my booking. Eva Marie's not coming to help someone win. That was my booking.
I rest my case. Thank you.
So this is what I want. All right, that's my girl. That's what I want. This would be like icing on the cake. Mella, look, the crown like suits her already. Put that on her head.
Once again, you said this is the Queen's Court. So once again, I rest my case.
But that being said, I want to feel like Liv's a sore loser. Mella's gonna face Zelina. Liv's gonna cost Mella the match. Zelina's gonna move forward to the finals, and Shayna Baszler will move forward to the finals. It's gonna be Zelina Vega versus Shayna Baszler, and just the way they've been booking Zelina, otherwise Shayna's gonna kill Zelina Vega, and we're gonna have a queen. And Shayna's never gonna wear that fucking crown. She's probably gonna throw it on the ground, and she's gonna stand on the throne, and she's gonna raise her arms and be like, "I'm that bitch now." And that's how we go moving forward. This will happen. Maybe not this year, but it will happen. Mark my fucking words. But just the idea that Liv and Carmella are both going to Raw, and Liv has to be frustrated with Carmella and her stupid mask. If you're going to continue that story, she cost the match for Carmella against Zelina Vega. It just makes sense. But if not, I would want it to be Carmella and Shayna, but I think it's going to be Zelina and Shayna, just to kind of make it super predictable. And finally Shayna because Shayna's new on SmackDown. If Bianca's going to Raw and Becky's going to Raw and Carmella and Liv are going to Raw, and your two top dogs over there are really just Sasha and Charlotte, who are both established as fuck, who are you going to put up against Sasha and Charlotte to cause that rift between them? When Sasha, if and what I think is going to happen, Sasha wins that belt, the crown jewel, and Charlotte comes out and be like, I want to face you, who's going to be that third wild card? Is going to be like, well, fuck both you bitches. It's going to be Shayna Baszler. No?
I agree.
I mean, I just don't think like the whole Sasha winning not gonna happen, because here's the thing: if Charlotte doesn't lose her title at all, there's gonna be a swap. There's nothing around it. Now, true enough, she has an opportunity for one more Monday. We already know that Charlotte and Becky will team up next Monday to face Bianca and Sasha. Therefore, Charlotte will not have a title match next Monday. There's one more Monday. So the theory could work, but Sasha's not going to win at Crown Jewel, unfortunately. It's going to go to one of the Raw women because there's going to be a swap if Charlotte, because at the end of the day, you cannot sit here and tell me that Charlotte is going to go up to Sasha, who just won the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she's still holding her Raw Women's Championship.
She's going to lose it.
She's not. How many days?
Even if she rolls up to Raw the night after the Saudi show, being like, "I'm here because I'm still the champion,"
but that
comes out and be like, "Well, give me that title shot."
The Friday after Crown Jewel is SmackDown.
Yeah,
so that doesn't make sense.
You can get that belt off of Charlotte that Monday. It's happened in the past.
It has, but I just don't. I see the swap. I'm still going with the swap. I say the swap. I think Becky retains, and they're just gonna swap, and that's just gonna what it's gonna be. And Vince is gonna give us once again probably Charlotte and Becky at Survivor Series, and say, "Here you go," and be happy about it.
So Jamari thought this was gonna be a 30-minute show. We've only just talked about Queen's Crown and the King of the Ring, but we need to move forward and talk about the other thing in WWE. So we can talk about AEW.
Right? That's four shots. I'm just making sure for later on the show. But
I might as well just name this episode Queen's Court or some shit because I don't know what the fuck the name of
that's
this
5 right there.
But before we move on to the men in the WWE really quickly, how are you guys feeling about finally Naomi getting Sonya Deville in the ring next week on SmackDown after weeks of Sonya Deville being like, you're just not worthy of being in the tournament, you're not worthy to get a title shot, we just don't think you're up to that level. Naomi was a 2-time women's champion, she's won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania herself, she's defended and won that belt at WrestleManias. Like, where do you guys stand with this whole feud? How do you guys feel? Sonya Deville has also returned to the ring. I don't think we seen Naomi wrestle since she's been back, like have a match?
No, we have not, and I think that was part of the gimmick. When you think about it, Naomi is very, very safe in the ring. That's a great person to pit Sonya Deville with. Also, I believe with this story that they have going on is very great because it seems like somebody's been listening and watching Twitter a lot because Naomi gets most of her support from Twitter and social media. So somebody had to be watching social media and say, hey, let's make her seem like she's an underdog. That way people on the internet get more angrier and angrier and angrier. And then that Friday, we have that payoff of her beating the ever-living crap out of Sonya Deville. And now we want more. We want blood. We're back for blood at this point. We want to see it. And now that gives me, as a viewer, a choice to tune in. I'm like, now I want to tune in because I want to see her whip her ass after all those things she made her go through just to get a match. It's smart. I like it. It makes us angry, but it makes us tune in. That's great marketability.
Anyone else?
I'm happy to see Naomi in the ring. I don't have any hope that she'll win. I don't know what they'll do.
Does Sonya Deville stay an authority figure after this, or does she step down and get back into the ring full time?
I don't know because it's eerie. It's just a match as of now. So we don't even know what happens after that. Hopefully the match ends in a DQ and something else happens. But I'm just happy to see Naomi back in the ring and Sonya as well. And I think this storyline is a waste, to be honest. I think Naomi could be doing something else. I think that's one person that could have been in the bracket. Win or lose, I still feel like this storyline with Sonya is a waste, a bit. So that's just, and I have no, I think it's cool, but it is a little weird to watch the storyline unfold because it is very you're not telling her this, but it is in a sense of she's not good enough or whatever. So I feel like she could be doing something else, but that's just my opinion. I think she could have been in the tournament. So,
Nickie, to add to your point, I've been thinking about this and I wanted to bring this to your attention. So when you think about authority, they don't fight themselves. They have the authority to get other people to fight for them. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring in somebody else. I know the rosters, they don't set until after Crown Jewel. But let's just say if you bring anybody, let's say a Xia Li or probably even Raquel Gonzalez from NXT. That would be great if they can go ahead and have that heavy.
What if? Because you have a point, and this could just be continuous mind games. Naomi can come out there thinking she's going to wrestle Sonya. Sonya can walk out there in a suit and be like, oh, no, I'm not going to wrestle you tonight. But this person's going to wrestle you on my behalf. And that's where you introduce a Dakota Kai or something. And now you have something to be like, oh, wow, this is okay. And, yeah. What were you going to say, Ken?
Remember, this whole original storyline is probably to turn Naomi heel. That's what we all in the beginning speculated. So what I would have done is this still could have worked, but I would have done something to where we still could incorporate Naomi into the Queen of the Ring and further that storyline. Like, give her underdog more purpose. It's like she fought for a chance. Boom, she got in there, but put in an unfair opportunity, basically, and to where she just straight out loses. Like, really, like, help build that genuine care of that underdog. Like, dang, she finally got opportunity. Did she get screwed like that bad? Like, make her really pissed off. Build that feud in a way to where it has a payoff, and somewhere to where we can see where it's going to go next.
I feel that. Lastly, about the women, though, I really love what they've been doing with Sasha and Bianca and Becky. The way, first, they all look great. They're all killing it. They've all had their turns being the dominant one, last one standing. We had Becky and Charlotte standing tall at the end of SmackDown last week. We had Sasha standing tall at the end of Raw this week. We had Bianca standing tall at the end of the segment on SmackDown this week. It's not biased any which way. They're making everybody look strong and important in their own way. Obviously, Becky and Sasha and Charlotte are part of that 4 horsewomen. They're established. They can look strong while they're laying down. No issues. Bianca is the only one from the new era of women in the last 2-3 years that came up from NXT that is like legitimately fitting in with these girls and killing it. And that means post the post Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Carmella era, like the girls that came in after 2016, like Bianca's the only one that's really killing it and fitting in with them. And dude, that double KOD that she played, I guess she picked them both off, but then Sasha hopped off and did the whole thing. But awesome, you know what I mean? And I don't know. That's all I want. There's not really much to say about it, but the way it's being booked, they're starting the shows with them. They're ending the shows with them if they can. I've been saying this for months now, and I'll go on the limb saying it. For me, AEW has been really fucking entertaining, but the things that have been kept me like in touch with the WWE is whatever Roman Reigns is doing and the women. Like, that's it. Like, those are the two things that I care more about. Like, we spent the first like at least 25 of these 37 minutes just talking about women's wrestling in WWE. It says a lot. That's it. If anyone else has anything to say
would that happen with AEW? Nope.
I want to point out that the spot that they did, Becky, Bianca, and Sasha, the way that Becky was in control of what was going on, I have to commend that because I give Becky a lot of heat for her ring ability. But to call that attention and the way she grabbed Sasha and then Sasha flips off, that was beautiful. I'm glad that Sasha was laying on the table. I don't want to see the double, the
KOD.
Yeah, the KOD, because I just don't need that.
It could end badly. It could easily end badly.
I thought that was beautiful. And yeah, I think Bianca is a star, and I've always said that, and I feel like she's just doing a great job. Bayley's absent, so she's almost like our substitute for horsewomen. We have Sasha, and they're all fighting Monday, so that's exciting. The double branding, the exposure, they're probably going to be the main event. We have to think that we've been getting women main events from Monday Night Raw as well. Not to say other promotions aren't doing it as well, but it's something that people can say what they want, but things have started to change.
But you can do women's main events in the WWE because the women in those divisions have been established.
Yes.
Like, people will stick around like, oh, Charlotte's wrestling? Oh, let's check what's going on. Oh, Sasha's wrestling? Becky's wrestling? They're going to want to stick around and see because those are established names. Now, before I move on to the men, though, unless Jamari, Kenneth, you have anything to say about Bianca, Sasha, Becky? Good on that?
Cool. Love them. Love them.
So, I was out of the feud. I got over it. I'm done with it. Actually, before we get there, just one last time, guys. This is what we want. This
Stop.
is what we want. This is what we want.
Shayna
If you're
Baszler.
not watching the Patreon, I just put Carmella up smiling at the crown again. That's our queen. But
oh my God, bro.
Before we move on, I had to show that one more time. I was so over the Edge and Seth thing, and I wanted Edge and Seth. For the moment Edge was coming back, I'm like, oh fuck, I can't wait for Edge and Seth. Like, I wanted Edge and Seth more than I ever cared for Edge to be fighting Roman Reigns. And we got Edge and Seth, and it's been sick. We had the SummerSlam match. Edge got the win. We had the SmackDown match. Seth got the win. Then I thought the feud was over in my mind. And I kind of got to a point, I'm like, I'm fucking over Edge and Seth. They've been doing this since like July. We are now in October. And then they, did the whole probably the weakest home invasion angle last week. We never really talked about it much, but as much as I love Seth and it was entertaining because Seth is entertaining, the weakest home invasion in professional wrestling history. He sat there and ate a dirty apple, kicked his feet. Like, nobody was even home. There was no screaming. Like, the most failed home invasion in all wrestling history. Look, think about the times that Triple H went to Randy Orton's house, all the old home invasions, Pillman 99mm, whatever, like all the home invasions of the past, like fucking rowdy ass shit. And then there's Seth, fucking Apple dissing Edge's kids' paintings. Crazy home invasion. I kind of got over that angle. I want to see Seth move on. I was excited when Seth got drafted to Raw because I'm like, oh my God, there you go. Call back to NXT back in the day. Seth, Big E, let's get it. And we're having one more match. I was like, oh, I don't really want one more match at Crown Jewel. I don't really care for a rubber match. But then they said Hell in the Cell. And I was in again. How do you guys feel?
We talked about this yesterday. I came back. We were on Clubhouse. I came back and I was like, oh, they're doing this again. They're doing this again. And then they said Hell in a Cell. And I was like, wait, they're going to hell in Saudi Arabia? Wait, what? Like, hold on. Like, somebody's going to this is crazy. Like, they're finally going to something that I feel like better be done right. Like, they better do this right. And honestly, they should kick it off. Like, this should kick off the fucking show to let this set the tone of what we have going on. But I am totally invested in this match, and I think it might go over as the best match of the night, to be honest.
And to your point, and before I get to you guys, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing your point, but it's called the TWC Show for a reason. But to your point, this is why I hate the fucking pay-per-view Hell in the Cell, because you go into it knowing there's going to be Hell in the Cell matches, and it just makes me not care. But when they spring a Hell in the Cell and I was like this out of nowhere for a random show, I feel like it just seems like a bigger deal. Like, Hell in the Cell at the pay-per-view is like, oh, like, okay, which match is going to be in the cell? Yada, yada, yada. Like, and sometimes the feuds don't even feel that personally heated. Edge and Seth has been a personal feud. It's been heated. It goes all the way back to when Seth wanted to break Edge's neck again because, he wanted the authority to be like, it makes sense for them to go in Hell in a Cell. Now it's a rubber match. It's a blow off to the feud. Like, this is what the Hell in a Cell was meant for. Two guys that really want to fuck each other up and they need to blow off their feud. Not just because the pay-per-view is coming around the corner. Oh, can we put these two girls in the cell? Put these two guys in the cell. Okay, that's cool. Good. We're set. And that's what I feel like this Hell in the Cell match makes me more excited than just a regular Hell in the Cell match we get at the pay-per-views. Kenneth, you had your mic off.
Yeah, so I agree with your point. It's actually a payoff. It been going on for a while, build after build. Shit, it probably really been going on since what, Royal Rumble? Maybe they had some interaction, I remember. So, I'm just happy that this springing out of nowhere. I think it's going to be a really good match. And even like what Nickie said, it should be the opening match so it can set the tone. It don't need to be the middle. It definitely ain't going to be at the end. This is a match where let's kick this off right. Let's start with Hell in a Cell. And, let's start with a banger.
Jamari?
So when you think about it, I think it's kind of crazy because when you think of Hell in a Cell, you think The Undertaker, you think Triple H. Now, besides Undertaker and Triple H, I think Edge, because Edge has been in Hell in a Cell with The Undertaker. Now, also, this is a dark horse. Tell me for the last couple years who has been in Hell in a Cell the most? Seth Rollins. Every single year, I swear I literally just thought about it. Seth Rollins has been in Hell in a Cell almost every single year. That man is becoming Mr. Hell in a Cell himself. So I feel like this is a great way to blow off that feud.
Perfect two guys, the perfect two guys. And like I said, it's felt personal. Some of the best Hell in the Cell matches that have actually happened at Hell in the Cell, even the pay-per-view, are the ones that actually felt like they were coming from personal feuds. Sasha and Bailey's like the perfect example. That was a personal feud that ended on Hell in the Cell and it made sense. Outside of that, really quickly, we're gonna go around. Who do you guys think Heyman's with? Realistically, do you think he's with Brock or do you think he's with Roman? He's been playing this whole little character well. He's giving us the fake tears. He's giving us the promos. He's looking in the camera and saying to Brock, like, listen, I told you you're the one to beat The Undertaker, but now Roman's the one that's going to beat you. Like, yada, yada, yada. But there's just, you can't trust Paul Heyman. He's the evil genius. He's the wise man. He's the one that could break down the whole kingdom if he wanted to. So, Kenneth, we'll start with you. Do you think Paul Heyman's with Brock or Roman?
Honestly, he putting on a good front with Roman, but for some reason I feel like he's gonna always be a Brock guy. He's Brock. You know, I feel like they like very synonymous. I would kind of like to see the bloodline without them and them being pure just Samoan without Paul Heyman attached. But then again, I feel like Paul gives them a good little aesthetic. Being their manager, but at this point, do they really need it? And would it be a nice little change to see them without Paul? Probably so.
Jamari?
So Justin, what I have in my hand for the people that are listening is a hat. Also, we call it cap, as in the thing that Paul Heyman has been with Roman Reigns. That's all cap, all right? It's just a fluke. He's going back with Brock Lesnar, okay? We all know he matches up with Brock Lesnar. His whole career is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar even called and was like, in 2012, hey, I need Paul Heyman here. You don't match Paul Heyman up and have Brock Lesnar there and match him with somebody else. It didn't work with the Big Show. I'm sorry, Justin, I forgot that's your favorite person. But it didn't work with the Big Show. Did it? I said it. I know I just broke, man. I kind of just broke the whole.
Broke the fourth
Nickie,
wall.
I felt that. But yeah, it doesn't work. So you need to have him with Brock Lesnar.
Nickie.
Listen, I said it first. When Brock came back, I knew that Paul had his hands in that somehow. Paul loves controversy. He loves a moment. I think he's with Brock. I think he's been with Brock. And the question that I have is, if Paul leaves Roman, do we get someone else for Roman in a sense? Or do we see, because I think, like I said, I think Brock will win at Crown Jewel. So do we see Paul go to the winning side? And then what happens with Roman? Like, does he have a talker, or does he just move on with the bloodline? How does he, if he loses at Crown Jewel, how does that affect his relationship with someone who's a champion, like his family members? So, I say Brock.
I want to actually piggyback off of what you say. Like, I noticed when Roman first came out, Paul was doing all the talking. Slowly now, Roman has been doing more talking than Paul has, and then ordering him to say whatever he needs to say last, and that would be it. So I start to think they're starting to steer that talking portion and let Roman cut most of all his promos for himself, and maybe get ready to pull Paul away from Roman and put him with Brock.
I feel you. Honestly, I'm just looking. I'm trying to see what happened on Raw. Outside of Sasha, Bianca, and Becky again, like, I didn't really like the Ziggler promo was good with Big D and Big E, and Goldberg was there.
Hey, Justin, I got a question to you. And once again, this goes into earlier for that Raw. How do you feel about Corey Graves' comments? Do you think that was more on the kayfabe side, or do you think that was more?
It was kayfabe. He's not always, but he's supposed to be a heel commentator, and he didn't lie. She hasn't achieved anything. Has she? What has Dana Brooke achieved other than being Charlotte's lackey?
I mean,
you can be good. It doesn't mean you achieved anything.
No, it doesn't. Well, that's the same we live. I just think the comments were disrespectful. But whether they were, but it's still in a sense of the way it was presented, I feel like could have been in a different saying that someone is wrestling in the ring and they technically haven't achieved anything. How many people get that? You wouldn't do that to a man. He wouldn't do it to a man, and I'll go on the record and say it. I don't think
he probably have. He
I
probably
don't.
has, to be
Well,
honest with you.
if he
told
has
them to
been
cut their
shown,
losses. That's literally saying fire her. I don't like Dana Brooks.
No,
but
I don't.
I'm not
I
saying
think
for
it
her
was.
cut her
I
losses
think.
and like get rid of her.
show me when he
think
said
it's
it to a
very-
man, and I will recant my statement. But like I said,
I'm pretty sure like it was very kayfabe, and this gives us more of a story for Shayna going in there to fight Dana because now Dana has something to prove. Oh, last week Graves said I haven't achieved anything. Well, tonight I'm gonna go beat Shayna Baszler. She's still gonna lose, but now she can say that. They gave her something to say because guess what? Other than that, Dana really doesn't have nothing to say, does she? Take a negative, turn into a positive. If every wrestler in the past that got dissed by Bobby Heenan went on Twitter and said, I don't like that Bobby Heenan said that about me, there would be a lot of them. So, like, if someone went on Twitter back then and was like, I don't like how Jerry Lawler talked about me, there would be a lot of them. You take the punches and you roll with them. That's what you got to do. I think that's going to happen. I think Dana can turn this negative into a positive and use this as like, oh, they say I haven't achieved anything. Well, let me prove you guys wrong. Go on. Oh, they don't do Raw talk like they used to. Sad. But
they do.
No, it's not the same. They don't come out there and get to cut free live promos as much.
Oh, you mean like how it was in? Yeah.
Well, they would just come out there and shoot because they could, you know. Not like a backstage interview that could be pre-recorded. That they'll be like, "Hey, you shouldn't have said that, or you shouldn't have said this," type of thing. AEW guys, it was a solid week. It wasn't as bumping as last week. There's a lot of good stuff. The biggest thing that happened was the good old Joker in the casino ladder match ended up being none other than Hangman Page, which perfectly puts Hangman back in that picture to get him against Kenny, like we wanted before he took some time off because he was having a baby. If there's a best, I did a little prediction thing with THS Wrestling guys. Go follow THS.wrestling on Instagram and the hashtag show on YouTube. I was on their show prior to Dynamite, and we did a who do you guys think the Joker is? And when Neeson said Hangman Page, that's the best way to insert him back in the title picture with Kenny Omega without having to bring him back and do all this crazy stuff. And I think it was brilliant. I think the pop he got shows how much he's still over with that AEW fan base. Yes, there's CM Punk. Yes, there's Bryan Danielson. Yes, there's Adam Cole. But out of that homegrown talent, these guys love Adam Page. And I thought it was a pretty good match. A lot of big names, and they had Moxley and Pac and Andrade and Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy and everybody. But I really enjoyed that. Was there anything on Dynamite that you guys really enjoyed or that stood out to you, or do you guys want to go to the less positive, the TBS Championship?
I mean, I think it's good for the fans that they got Hangman, and I think that it was a great way to introduce him, and I do think it was a great match. I have my issues with Dynamite and programming wise. I don't really feel like there's any significance in the TBS title at the moment. I don't think that it was introduced in a way that could have been, I don't know, like the way they introduced it was very lazy and very sloppy. And it's always like this longevity thing. Well, here's what we're going to be doing in January. Who gives a fuck? Like, okay, we get it. But like, why the hell are you doing it now? And then it's like, I think that AEW has a good time with knowing who their demographic is. And I think that they don't try to expand on that. Not purposely. I just think that sometimes it's very like, I don't think those people really cared about the TBS title, to be honest. And I don't think they care about who's holding it because you don't care about who is Britt Baker going to be facing next.
And we have no idea who Britt Baker is facing next.
Yeah,
you have no established one title already. That's weird.
They have a whole ranking system that they developed to set themselves apart from any other promotion in which, if like I stated before, if you do not have a natural feud that have occurred or any heat with anybody that you just want to use for this, you have that ranking system to fall back on because that's what it's there for. Whoever's number one, number two, that should be the only two people we should look at to contend with that belt. And that's what that's what the ranking system for. When you don't have a feud, you don't have any other options. Ranking system.
And it's not even the ranking system. Listen, they don't know who's facing Britt Baker next. Maybe they have someone planned, but we have no idea. You're introducing a title that's not going to be around till January. You can do a whole tournament for it. That's fucking dope. Why didn't you have the women out there for that segment? Why didn't you have some women come out there and show interest in that title during that segment? Why wasn't that followed by the Shida and Serena D match? Like, here, this is our women's title coming. Here's a women's match. This is our women's division. We just gave you this entire block of time for the women's division. Listen, I don't go back there. I don't look at the ratings. I don't know what the ratings breakdown is segment by segment. You guys want that information, go check out Dave Meltzer. Go check out Raj Geary and all those people. I can tell you this much. I know they do certain things because they pop a rating, because ever since Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, and Adam Cole have been there, they've almost been on every single Dynamite for sure. Well, we've seen FTR miss the shows. We've seen the Young Bucks miss shows. We've seen Kenny Omega not be on episodes of Dynamite. But yet we've seen CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and Adam Cole on every single episode. And I know they bring Punk out there because he pops a crowd and the fans want to see Punk walk out and do his whole entrance stuff. But they tape Rampage right after Dynamite. They could just save that for Rampage, and he could have cut a promo on Dynamite from backstage being like, I want Daniel Garcia on Rampage. And the fans will know, like, hey, if we stick around, we get to see CM Punk on Rampage. We didn't need him on Dynamite and Rampage. And listen, I love CM Punk. He's one of my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. One of the only new modern era guys that made that list. It's him and Randy Orton. And the fact that he's on there is like, I'm happy to see him. Don't get me wrong. But he comes out there and he's cutting happy promos about Philly cheesesteaks, saying the wrong shit. And it was a time waster where you could have had more women featured on that show. I'm not asking for like a whole card of women's matches, but you could have had Serena Deeb and Shida. You could have had Jade and someone else come out there, and you could have the Britt Baker promo. And those 3 segments that you featured your women that you say you're trying to push so hard. But instead, we had Punk coming out there talking about Philly cheesesteaks and giving really expensive shoes that I know nothing about to some fucking kid that dresses up like Orange Cassidy. Really cool moment. I fucking love that he did that. Genuine, nice, sweet moment. But was it fucking necessary?
So I'm gonna just say this. Let me take this mask off. I'm just wearing the AEW mask. From a guy being from Chicago, this is very hard for me to say. And you know I mean it. I'm getting tired of seeing CM Punk every single week when it makes no sense. I'm going to be very biased for this title. I want Jade to go for the AEW World's Women's title, but for that TBS title, once again, I'm being very biased because I know those people. I want Sky Blue to go ahead and win that, not because her boyfriend is one of my good friends, but only because one of her boyfriend is my good friend, and I want to see them succeed because those are my kids. But I'm getting tired of it.
But I'm not like
they make so many segments that could be for women, and they make it male dominated. And I speak to Nickie about this. It comes a point where you have to hey, they're already established. Let's establish other people, because we already know who Bryan Danielson is. We know who CM Punk is, but we don't know who Sky Blue, Jade, Shida, Serena Deeb. Those people are not household names like Sasha Banks, Becky, and Charlotte. We need to have more background for them.
Britt Baker's not even at that level yet. And she's high up there, but she's not even at that level yet. They don't even show her enough for her to be at that level yet. She hasn't beat enough people that we care about for her to be at that level yet. We don't even know who her next opponent is. She's just out there cutting promos backstage being like, good job introducing a new title. That means you don't have to focus on mine. We need her to have opponents. Thunder Rosa, I know she's not everyone's favorite, but she should be like Britt Baker's next opponent. But now they're trying to make it seem like Jade Cargill and Thunder Rosa are going to be fighting for this TBS title, the equivalent to the TNT title. This is their TNT title, and they did a really good job with the TNT title. Don't get me wrong. Like we had Sammy Guevara versus Bobby Fish this week. Bobby Fish got signed. Congratulations to Bobby Fish. That was a solid match. But think about the TNT title. We've had Cody, Brody, Darby, Miro, and Sammy Guevara. So these are like all guys that could also be world champions too, right? They could. And they held that title. So I'm not saying holding the TBS championship doesn't mean you can't be the women's championship eventually. But like, you don't even have anybody in that top card to face the women's champion. So maybe they should use this TBS title to push people that are on dark.
Yes.
To maybe get a Sky Blue to chase, get a Penelope and Anna Jade.
Kiera Hogan is right there.
It's too soon, man.
Kiera Hogan, Red Velvet. Red Velvet could be the first TBS champion.
I didn't say that. I said Kiera Hogan. I didn't say Red Velvet. I said Kiera Hogan.
Yeah, the thing is, we talk about this a lot. There is no structure. There's no. Who's the 5 top women in the division off rip?
Britt.
Jade's number one.
Thunder.
Jade's number one.
Britt, Thunder Rosa, Jade. Maybe Serena.
Just when you say Jade, make sure you say number one though, because she's top ranked, champion or not.
Top 5. And I don't even. And personally, I don't really care for Shida. Serena Deeb's dope.
Did you say Nyla Rose? Because she's
is she up there anymore? What does she do?
She is.
It's really any.
He lost to Regal. He lost to 110-pound Regal. But she's a monster.
If you're Thunder Rosa was doing nothing but dark matches. Nyla's been on Dynamite and been consistent.
They always make her relevant. She's out here fighting Jade and stuff. Where's Nyla?
And Nyla doesn't have to be made relevant because she held a title, and when she pops, she pops.
Saying Nia Jax doesn't need to be around. She'll stay relevant because she's held the title before. But where's Nia Jax?
Comparison between Nia Jax and Nyla Rose, besides physical.
No, fine. We can say
we're talking about Nyla Rose. I'm talking about Nyla Rose. I don't feel like you can put Thunder Rosa. I know exactly, and you're putting Thunder Rosa, who is the queen of dark matches before she even got signed. Nyla Rose had made her stamp. So you got to put her in top 5 regardless. If you're going to put somebody like Thunder Rosa who ain't never held, that's who needs to be getting the TBS title. She needs something, to be honest, because they're pushing her. They're making her out to be this explosive character, and she's getting exposure. She'll probably be the first one to win.
Where is she getting exposure?
She just said AEW Dark on YouTube.
But Thunder Rosa was she not in a triple threat match? She's beefing with Jade.
But then where did Nyla go after that? Jade's still here. Thunder's still here.
Thunder Rosa.
Huh? Yeah, cutting out. Nickie's so fired up, her computer's cutting out.
But like I said, if it's a problem that earlier he said name top 5, you had to say maybe. That's the problem right there. That's how we know.
The only one that's for sure to me is Britt Baker. Everyone else is just a maybe. Like literally everyone else. Maybe. The entire wrestler roster is a maybe to me. It's Britt Baker.
It's literally just Jade and Britt Baker.
I don't even think Jade yet. I think Jade's a big deal, but I can't sit there and be like Jade's.
But Jade's number 1 ranking, and you're giving Britt. Why are you giving Britt Baker that top spot? But that doesn't mean anything just because you hold a title. Britt is great, don't get me wrong, but Jade is.
But Jade has been.
They're not doing the same that they're doing with Britt though.
Squash matches to build up as a monster, which they rightfully should be doing, but I can't sit there and be like she's like the best.
We didn't say best. We said considering the top 5. There's not other women that are gonna go over Jade. I'm sorry, like that's weird.
No, there isn't. There isn't anyone. But there isn't anyone.
Exactly. So that means you list for a top 5, right? Especially if you're number 1 ranking as of this week, right? That's how that works.
Those rankings mean nothing to me for the last.
So
they did when Britt was chasing for that title. When Britt was chasing for that title, they did. They're not giving Jade and Britt the same exposure. It's very different.
And they don't want Jade to face Britt, which is really weird.
Well, they also don't want Jade to lose at all. They want Jade. That's why she does a lot of squash matches, because it makes sense to her character. If you look at Jade and look at some of the women that she's faced, if you put her up to Britt Baker right now, Britt gonna win.
But I would laugh. My ignorance talking about AEW's women's division, compared to my passion talking about the WWE's women's division, they've done nothing for a fan like me to be invested in this division. I don't know half the stuff you're saying right now. This is all like new to me because they don't show it on the shows I actually watch.
Right,
that's the AEW problem.
There's a lot of stuff that they do take place, like Nickie said, on Dark Elevation, that a lot of people don't watch or just don't have time to watch. But in order to make that title relevant, you need somebody who can definitely beat another world champion, somebody who don't need that world championship to be defined. It should be either a past champion, or you should bring a legend, a woman's pro wrestler who's a legend. I wouldn't mind Mickie James holding that title and making herself like a gatekeeper. Like
for the TBS title?
Huh?
For the TBS title?
Yes, I wouldn't mind her. I don't even mind Gail Kim coming out of retirement and trying to hold it. You know why? Because they're all established. They're all
working for better women's divisions other places. This women's division sucks. They wouldn't know how to use those women.
But even Serena, I wouldn't be okay with Serena Deeb. She even held the NWA champion. They need to make you, and they can use this to build her up. Like, you are a gatekeeper. If somebody beats you and holds this title, the next person, they should be looked at as somebody who's going to be skyrocketed and be another champion and everything. You should become a barrier. Like how Miro was. Miro was just going undefeated. He just looked like a brick wall. It gave more meaning to whoever was going to defeat him. It was going to give it more meaning regardless, because he was so undefeated, and the strength he was going to compel. You need somebody like that.
Have they already given us Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose like in a singles match? Is that a thing that's already happened?
No, I don't think they're going to do that, because I think they don't want to make Nyla look weak, and also Jade is very green.
They made Nyla lose to fucking Riho, bro. Riho.
But she got the title after that.
Like a little skinny 110-pound Japanese.
But hear me out to Keno's point, and I think, Nickie, you might like this. So this is a prime opportunity to use our forbidden door. And hear me out. That person that should come through that forbidden door and win that TBS title is Deonna Purrazzo. That way we can set up Deonna Purrazzo versus Britt Baker, right? I love Francesca. Don't tell her I said that, because that's a secret that I have between her. That was supposed to be her original name. And I'm saying that already live on everywhere. But Francesca and Britt Baker going one-on-one, we wanted that match so much. So why can't we have it with that forbidden door? We have not been getting the forbidden door for women. It needs to be equal.
Why don't they just have the Impact Women's Champion versus the AEW Women's Champion with no titles on the line? Just make that our two champions and go at it. We're going to see who the better champion is. And that could be Britt's next opponent. Like, that would be huge. Because that's a whole topic about the Impact AEW relationship. But that would have been huge for both sides, in my opinion. I don't know. Because at least Impact's women's division's like, it's solid, you know? Like, they know what they're doing over there. Any other final thoughts here, Nickie?
Nickie is signed to Impact, so I think you need to show her more respect.
Nickie, so Nickie, in your mind, who are the top five? Who are the top five in AEW?
I don't know. I mean, your top five was, it'll take me a while to get a top five for AEW, because there's not. I would only put Nyla, Jade, and Britt, and that's it. That's all I would know for now. I wouldn't have a two solid 4 and 5.
It's hard. There isn't really any much going on there. Was there anything else happening in AEW? We had the Elite. Huh?
My bad, that's my point. It's not defined to where it was hard to name a top 5. If I would ask you back in 2000, who's at the top of the card for men or women, everybody could have dropped a combination of 5 people. Nobody would have argued. Half the people you would have put name drop. At this point, nobody's built in that division to where we say we have a solid top 5 women who can carry out the top of the card while that bottom and that mid card develop.
No, I feel you. I just think if Britt's a champion, who could go for Britt right now? They already did Britt and Nyla. They've done Britt and Ruby Soho. They haven't done Britt and Jade. They've done Britt and Thunder, but that was before they had the belt. Because Britt, to me, is like that's the top one for sure. And then I don't know where to go after that. Now that this new TBS title, and supposedly put that on Jade, so they don't want to do Britt and Jade.
I feel Thunder.
Eventually, Jade's gonna have to lose. Though, who is Jade gonna lose to if she loses? Eventually, she can't win forever. Who does Jade lose?
She's gonna lose with the most vicious move in pro wrestling, the roll up. I don't know who it's gonna be, but the most vicious move in pro wrestling, the roll up, is gonna happen.
Red Velvet.
Who do you think Jade should lose to, Nickie?
To be honest,
who?
I don't see her losing.
Like ever?
Ever. Like, I don't, unless she goes, because she's not going to stay in AEW forever, especially if they're stale with what they're doing. She can go somewhere else. She could do anything at this point. I mean, who's to say she won't be the first to leave and go to WWE and dominate there and take her streak? I just don't think there's no one on the roster. Britt's not going to beat her. That's why they want to keep. It's not believable for Britt to beat Jade. It's not. And that's why they're keeping, if they give her the TBS title, they're keeping her away. That's why now I feel like she's at the top rank, because they're like, oh, top rank. we can just put the TBS title on her. Because just
Have her
because
face Britt, because the top rank should be facing Britt, but they don't want them to cross paths because they also don't want Britt to lose that belt. I don't know whoever's in charge of booking this women's division AEW, but get on it. Other than that,
You know who? Kenny Omega.
It's Kenny, yeah, Kenny. Kenny still has
It's
one
Kenny Omega.
power over the women's division.
I never got the chance to watch Rampage yet, so I haven't seen Jade and Sky Blue or Punk versus Garcia or the main event between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. And I think the Lucha Brothers had a match on there as well. I need to go back and start watch Rampage. I know that's Jamari's favorite tag team.
Lucha Brothers.
For Dynamite, Cody's still getting smacked around by Arn Anderson. Malachi is still spitting in people's faces and knocking their heads off. The Elite faced off against Bryan Danielson and the Jungle Express. Someone was at Jurassic Park. Is it Jurassic Express?
Don't start what Santana did. It's Jurassic. You almost made me say part. You almost got me right.
But I said Jungle Express. It's Jurassic Express. That match was fun. It was a banger. It was all over the place. But AW, once again, there's not those many things I can pick on the men's division. There is stuff for sure, though. There's a lot that could be going on with the tag division. I don't care about the Matt Hardy family. But other than that, if we were to look back at this episode a month from now, you'd be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff happening in the women's division WWE. And then you think about the women's division AW, and it's just look, we all got in arguments about who's actually over and not over and who we think is it's a fucking mess. So get that shit together. And the men's division is great, but we don't need Punk on every show. I understand it pops a rating, and that's probably a high part of the show when you guys look at the statistics. When Punk came, I look at the rating spike. But we don't need him on every single show. You're not going to get other people over if you're just using the people that are already over and going to continue to be over regardless of the fact. I know they're getting comfortable knowing that since these guys made their debut, every Dynamite's been over 1 million. Every single Dynamite since Punk, Bryan, and Cole showed up have been over 1 million. But we don't need that. I don't know. They need to be, if you know that you're getting these 1 million viewers, start showcasing other people, especially that women's division that really fucking needs it. And I think that's about all I got to say about that. Anybody else? There's a guy screaming.
I'm going to take this time just to say for everybody, Black women. That's all I got to say.
Okay, outside of that, guys, I think that's it, man. You guys know where to find all my stuff. Click the link in my bio, twcshop.com. My article's on 1:37 p.m. The podcast, subscribe. You listen to this somewhere, wherever you listen, make sure you follow and subscribe. And just make sure you guys follow my YouTube channel as well, man, The Wrestling Classic. I'm going to be doing a couple of interviews this month. I know for sure I'm going to be interviewing my good old friend Mariah May. We talked during the pandemic, but now she's been hitting the wrestling scene again, working at Rev Pro and a bunch of places in the UK. And we're going to chat again and catch up and see how everything's been going for her. How about you, Nickie? Where can people find you?
You can find me at Nickie Bougie on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me writing some nice little articles for the Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And yeah, I just put out a top 5 Charlotte Flair. So that's really fun. So make sure you check that out.
Kenneth, you got anything going on you want to share with the people?
I can just drop my platforms. You can follow me at Instagram at HandsomeSigma357. You can follow me at Twitter at Live5357. That's about it. Not much going on in my world, man.
And Jamari, what do we got?
You can follow me at the Jamari because I am the one and only. Screw you, Ricochet. I'm just kidding. I like Ricochet to a certain point. You can also find me if you are in Chicago. If you're going to that event for Bret Hart, the Warrior Wrestling, you can catch me there doing photography. I'll be posting photos hopefully later this month for Warrior Wrestling. Also, all my social media once again is the Jamari. And once again, go ahead and support Justin in this wonderful channel that he has. Thank you very much.
Keep doing the thing, everybody. We'll see you all next week. And one last time for the Patreon users.
Get the
I know. Because that's the queen. The moonwalking, trash talking, crown stealing.
I bet you got a poster on your ceiling that you looked up.
Mela is money. Ooh, yeah. Dig it up.